Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on Wednesday, February 12th, 2014. Lincoln's birthday. At around 1:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time. First, the requisite weather report. We were 15 below zero this morning. And now it's up to about 25. So, yay! I guess it's going to get warmer here in the next 3 or 4 days. So maybe I can whack this thing off my head. Now today's video is going to be a bit of a departure for me in the sense that I'm actually working from a set of questions that I did not write. And I encountered these on the video of a fellow who has just recently subscribed to me. And since then, I've seen on YouTube that this is now sort of a it's one of these things that, it sort of wanders through YouTube and the number of people do it, and then something else comes along, and then people move on and do other things. But I guess apparently this is called the too much information. Well, they call it a tag. Now, I don't quite understand the usage of that term. It clearly means more than just asking somebody a question. And it's probably a little bit more than just saying their name on a video. So I haven't quite figured out the exact sort of functional, proper syntactical usage of this word, or exactly what it means. But it's 50 questions. They call it too much information, and and it was almost interesting. What was interesting when I watched this guy's video where he answered, and he ran through all of these. I assure you we're not going to do all 50. I might read all 50, but I was a bit surprised that around 70% of his answers were pretty much congruent with the ones I would give, or at least the class of answer he gave was similar to one that I would give. And so we may as well just dive in. Otherwise, I'm going to start sounding patronizing as all get out, and I don't mean it that way. What are you wearing? Well, my Seed Consultants hoodie, my neck warmer. Under that, my Army Field Coat thermal liner, and under that, long underwear. And then I have my wool pants on and my outdoor boots. Those of you who watch me regularly know that right over there in the chair is my green wool shirt, which from time to time I also wear. Oh, that's almost like a poem, isn't it? Over there in the chair is my green wool shirt I also wear. You all have seen my videos in the summertime. There, how's that for my wardrobe? Actually, I basically don't have to buy any more clothes except for some underwear until I check out. Good to go. Ever been in love? Yes, 4 times. Ever had a terrible breakup? No, it wasn't terrible, it was necessary. How tall are you? 5? Well, 5'8.5" now. How much do you weigh? 195. Any tattoos? No. Piercings? No. One true pairing? I don't understand that. Favorite show? I assume that's TV shows, so that's generally what's currently on. That would be Modern Family in the middle. You know, the times I get to watch it. Well, I don't watch them on TV. I watch them on the machine here a week late. I used to watch them the day after, but they won't let you do that anymore. You have to wait for a week late. The favorite bands, the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra. Although my son and I did go to the Bob Seger concert there in November of 2012. And a great time was had by all, I'll tell you. I mean, that's the actual only sort of, that's sort of the second rock concert I ever went to. You can watch the video I made about that as well. See, I've addressed all these things in past videos. Well, a number of these things in past videos. Something you miss. Well, I miss my dogs, and I miss my dad. They're not things, but favorite song. Well, I mean, there are a number of songs I like. I like Holy, Holy, Holy. I like Mighty Fortress is Our God. I like Almighty Invisible God, God Always Wise. I like Crown Him with Many Crowns. I like the one on Palm Sunday. All Glory, Laud, and Honor. I like To All the Saints Who From Their Labors Rest. Basically, I like any good hymn that's singable. Not this stuff that was written by some British guy in the mid-50s. Something that's singable. How old are you? 62. Zodiac sign, Capricorn, the prick of the zodiac. Quality you look for in a partner, decency. Favorite quote, Galatians 5:1. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free, and be not entangled again in the yoke of bondage. Favorite actor? Well, I don't know. I mean, any actor, any guy that can play the role believably, I suppose. You know, I've always liked to watch Clint Eastwood. Basically, I'll pretty much watch anything Clint Eastwood is in, as long as it doesn't have that horrible Sandra Locke. I always liked Tom Berenger. I always like to watch Tom Berenger. I haven't seen a movie in decades now. I really don't know. Well, not in a theater. Favorite color? Well, gray, dark blue, dark green. Loud music or soft? I guess it depends on how it's supposed to be played. This fellow, when he was running through his answers, said he didn't like rap music. Well, first of all, rap music is an oxymoron. Rap music is not music. It's an offense against civilization. It's just awful. People go back to my videos and watch. Sometimes I'd sit down and I'd crank up this Bob Seger album real loud. This one dog of ours figured out that if he got hold of that CD case after I put the disc away and hid it somewhere, he wouldn't have to listen to it as often. So he'd grab that and hide it. He didn't destroy it. He'd just hide it. And it took me a while to figure out what he was doing. So I always like to crank up Bob Seger a bit. Where do you go when you're sad? I go out on the back porch and drink and look at the creek. That's what I do when I'm sad. Doesn't happen very often. Of course, I'm out on the back porch drinking a lot anyway. So. Don't have to be sad to do that. How long does it take you to shower? Well, I guess it depends, doesn't it? Well, 3 to 5 minutes. As I said, I guess it depends. Pay no attention to that implied innuendo. How long does it take you to get ready in the morning? Well, I guess the answer is the same. I guess it depends. Well, no, generally, I mean, this is actually this has been the case actually pretty much my whole life. Is from the time I awaken until the time I actually have to set foot outside the house and do something serious with my life, which fortunately doesn't happen very often anymore. But when it did happen, it took an hour and 45 minutes. So when I had to be down to the hospital at 6:30, which meant I had to leave at 6, that meant I had to get up at 4:15. Is that right? Yes, 4:15. Because it just took me that long to just get awake and squared away and everything done. And that's still the case today. It takes an hour and 45 minutes. Excuse me. Ever been in a physical fight? No, not as an adult. And not even as a child, really. There were a couple of guys I had to, well, just to end them tormenting me when I was younger, I had to just walk up to them, and what's that? Dry gulch them, not hitting them in the face by just kicking them in the nuts, really, really hard. That stopped them bothering me. Don't have to do that very often. Because once you get a reputation for being kind of irrational and off the wall, people will leave you alone. Sometimes you have to cultivate that. Turn on. A good conversation where you sort of feel like you can finish each other's sentences, particularly when you've just sort of met somebody. Turn off. Somebody who doesn't go along with me after I've been turned off. See, I told you this wasn't going to be like my usual videos, guys. The reason you joined YouTube, well, if you watched my first couple of videos back from November, or actually early December of 2012, it initially was me thinking I was going to talk about my troubles learning how to use this computer. And after that, then, of course, you realize there's just a huge world out there on YouTube and very interesting people. And anyway, fears. Actually, anymore now, I'm saying you're not fearless. Nobody's fearless. But the more you trust in God, the less afraid you are. And that's just a fact. Last thing that made you cry. Well, a lot of stuff I read makes me cry. I'm a very sappy, romantic. I'll sit down and squall over some of this romantic stuff. I oftentimes will cry during during the Holy Communion, the pre-consecration part of the Holy Communion. It's not like sobbing, but I'm standing. Well, after a good hymn in church, a lot of times, yeah, I I easily tear up. Last time you said you loved someone, I suppose a couple, 3 months ago. Meaning behind your YouTube name, it's my name. Last book you read? Well, I've been reading the J. Bell Something Like series. Something like spring, no, something like summer, something like autumn, no, something like summer, something like winter, something like autumn, something like spring. And there's 4 of them, well, 4 seasons. But I'm also reading, the actual last book I finished was, I finished all the first 3 of the series, but Alexander Masters' book about, not Simon, I'm reading that. Stewart, A Life Lived Backwards. And then I'm currently reading his book called Simon, the Genius in My Basement, about his landlord in Cambridge. So I'm currently reading. Of course, I'm still reading Paul and the Faithfulness of God, which I did make a video about when I finished the volume 1 of the 2-volume series. But I'm still soldiering on through that. There'll be more of that anon here in several weeks. It's going to take me a while, guys. Last show you watched? Well, I don't know. I think we looked at the syndicated reruns of Modern Family, a couple episodes of those last night while we ate dinner. If that's what you mean by a show, I don't know. I've never been really the only actual sort of let's go watch a stage show. There have been very few of those. I watched. We went to Amadeus at the Ohio Theater. We're talking like 25 years ago now, guys, or more, and then let's see. We watched. I think we saw La Cage aux Feux at the Mershon Auditorium again, like 25 plus years ago. I think it's not been. First of all, it's just so god awful expensive to go to those things. Last person you talked to, I talked to Paul a bit before he went to work this morning. Relationship between you and the person you last texted. Well, I rarely ever text, and I only do it when it's absolute necessity. And I texted this guy who's my buddy who raises cattle because his email seemed to be down, and so I said, "Is your email down?" Well, he claimed it wasn't down. That was that. Favorite food, pizza. Don't ever put pineapple on it, because then it's not pizza. It's not. Place one of it. Well, I'd like to go back to the British Isles and I'm just going to have to look at this. I'm sorry. Just go away. Well, as I said, I'd like to go back. Sorry about that. I'd like to go back to the British Isles and actually, I've not been back to the actual continent proper since I first. I've only been there one time, and that was when the Iron Curtain was still up. And I would really like to go and see a lot of the Central and Eastern European countries that you can see when the communists And the Soviet Union basically had them all under their sway until, 1991. So I like to go back and travel around, see some of that again. Well, see that for the first time, and I'd like to go back to Britain again. That would, I've been over there 4 times. I'd like to go back again. I'm sorry about this coughing, folks. Last place you were? Well, I was in the can before I started this, and before that, I had gone into the front room to print this out. Do you have a crush? Well, no. Now, if they'd asked, if the question had been, do you have fantasies? The answer to that would be yes. Last time you kissed someone, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. I don't know. Last time you were insulted. Well, I mean, it's been insulted. To be insulted means you have to take it seriously. If you're insulted, that means you take what somebody said to you seriously. If you don't take it seriously, you're not insulted. I have been called a murderer. That happened in the operating room once. This guy was doing a pericardiectomy on this 12-year-old girl. And she had repeat episodes of pericarditis, and it was an autoimmune sort of thing. Well, it was rheumatic, but she had, so when she had pericarditis, and it had become constrictive, and so her heart, couldn't expand and pump properly, and so she was chipping away this pericardium, bit by bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. Well, the front part's relatively easy, and the heart's still beating. He didn't go in the pump. She was cannulated as if they might go in the pump. They'd done a femoral access thing. If they had to go in the pump, but they hadn't had to do it, and you can do this once beating, and it's very tricky, and there's always going to be a little hole, a little nick here, a little nick there, and they sewed it up. So the front and the sides are relatively easy, if you're a good thoracic surgeon, it's quote easy to do. But to get the stuff off of the back of the heart, you have to sort of flip the heart up, what I like to call it, flip it up on its head. Excuse me. Now, interestingly enough, the actual technical term for that is called the base of the heart. But, to an outside observer, it looks like it's being flipped on its head. And when you do that, of course, you're twisting all the stuff, and so you can't get blood flow in, you can't get effective blood flow out, and so they'd hold this thing up a bit and then do a little sort of scrape, snip, 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 and then put it down, and let it beat some more, and then they'd go up again and do some more. Well, this guy was making an especially big blow for freedom, and so he kept going at it, perhaps just a bit longer than he should have done, and so she fibrillated. She arrested and fibrillated. Okay, well, you put the heart back down, and you put the paddles on and defibrillate her, and she started back up. But meanwhile, I got a cough. I'm sorry about this. Meanwhile, he looks over at me and he says, It's another GD potassium arrest. No, first it says, is there potassium in that IV? You're running, little aliquots and stuff in, depending on the intraoperative lab work that the pump team was drawing the intraoperative lab work because they had those cannulas in. So easy to do all that stuff. Well, you had arterial line too. So. And we, it's low potassium. Well, typically you get a dilutional hypokalemia, sometimes in these cases. And so it was like, and you never run that in fast. I mean, because you can't, a big slug of potassium rapidly will kill people. That's actually part of the execution procedure in lethal injection, or used to be. I don't know if it is now, but it used to be. And I said, yeah, there's potassium in that IV. Yeah, it's another GD potassium arrest. You're just a murderer. Okay. Well, it was a spring thunderstorm. I had done a lot of work with this guy, and I had spent actually a month with him as a medical student, a few years before that. And, we got along fine, but this guy, and all these surgeons are when they're in the heat of combat, so to speak, So was that an insult? No, that was just him being him. A spring thunderstorm. Favorite flavor of sweet? Well, I almost never. Well, I have not eaten anything sweet deliberately in a long time. I will say, though, that when I was going to anesthesia meetings in Chicago, and you're sort of paying, it's like you pay for the whole package. So here's lunch, and you're going to, you've paid for it, so you may as well eat stuff. And they would have desserts. Well, but when they would serve cheesecake, I would always eat the cheesecake. Now, my mother was a baking wizard, and her specialty was sweet rolls. Oh, wow. When I was a kid, I ate a lot of that crap. And actually, when I was in medical school, up until I, got common sense in my head, I was taking a lot of sugar in my coffee, and I was having 40 cups of coffee a day. I had one of these big aluminum pots we put on the stove, 20-cup pots, and I would run through 2 of those a day, and I would drink all of those with sugar in it. It dawned on me I was running through, check this out, guys, 8 pounds of sugar a month. This is not salubrious. So I just cut that out immediately. And in 1 month, I dropped 40 pounds. And I've basically not eaten anything, deliberately sat down and eaten anything sweet since then. What instruments do you play? Well, I took 7 years of piano lessons, but that doesn't mean I can play the piano. My mother always wanted one of her kids to play the piano. My sister actually, she was better at it than I was. My sister's 8 years older than I am. But she was better at playing the piano than I was. But I just, Now, my best buddy, well, actually, the guy I was first in love with. My best buddy could sit down and sight read and play anything. It's amazing. Oh, well, let's see. The complete answer. Well, Oh, then I played the flute for about, well, no, let's use the word played advisedly. I played the flute for about 3 years there, from 4th grade to 7th grade, until it became just too embarrassing for our band director and myself. So I was switched to percussion. So after that, I was a general percussionist for the next, well, 5 years, eighth grade through high school. It was a lot of fun. I mean, because the drum section was always sort of the anarchists of the band room, I mean, sort of a force unto themselves. We made up our own cadences. Yeah, it was great. But so I ended up basically playing the bass drum. Well, cymbals. Well, again, then in the concert sort of part of the season, then a number of things. It's fun. Favorite piece of jewelry? Well, I don't have a jewel. I have my dad's wedding ring, which was his grandmother's wedding ring. I don't wear it, obviously. I do have. I wouldn't call this jewelry, but I do wear this cross of nails. Come on, cover up that chest, boy. It's cold. Last sport you played? You got to be kidding. Last song you sang? Well, whatever the last exit hymn was at church. I told you my favorite song. Favorite chat up line? You got to be kidding. Have you ever used it? Again, ditto. Last time you hung out with somebody? What do you mean? Now, I'm not being disingenuous here. I mean, I suppose in college. Isn't that where you do that kind of stuff? Who should answer these questions next? Well, anybody with too much time on their hands. Well, thank the good Lord I have too much time on my hands in that sense. So, on that note, I'm gonna say bye-bye on this one for today, YouTubers. And thanks, Jeremy. Bye-bye.